get centered, relax, take a nice, deep cleansing breath as we get settled, and we hold space for others that are on their way here, and we hold space for those that are in the bed asleep. We pray for them too. They're the smart ones, no, stop. In this sacred space, we give thanks for the presence of God, the good, omnipotent. We're grateful for the energy and the strength to be able to tune into our spirits on today, to be able to provide ourselves the opportunity to listen and hear direction. We allow our individual personalities to decrease, and we allow the presence of God, the presence of good, to increase and to speak to us and to guide us, to stimulate us with enough strength and vitality and energy that we can carry throughout the week. We speak blessings on those who are tuning in online, and we declare peace and prosperity and blessings on those that are on the way here. We allow in this sacred space the presence of God to do what it does, to uplift us, to inspire us, to open our minds and our hearts, to allow us to think, to allow us to be more inclusive, to recognize the blessing of diversity in honor and celebration of African American History Month. We give thanks for the presence of God displayed in all colors, shapes, and sizes. And we say yes to the will and the mind of God as it manifests in this house. And we allow the presence of God to do what it does. In the name and the nature of all that is holy, we declare the service blessed. And so it is. Amen.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Karima folks, and I will be doing meditation today. So I want you, if you will, just relax yourself in your seat, or you can sit on the floor if you like, or you can stand, whatever makes you comfortable and open to experience God. Just relax yourself. And just begin the relaxation from the top of your head. Your face, just relax. Let all the thoughts slide off of your mind, and let your mind be free to receive. And drop your shoulders down and relax them. Relax your hands. Relax your torso and your heart, your chest. And just let your body breathe you. Notice your breath. And relax your hips as you sit comfortably in your chair. Relax your back. And know that you are fully supported. And let the relaxation move down through your thighs, your knees, your legs, your ankles, your feet, your toes. Just allow that cool relaxation to move through your body like raindrops falling. Feels so good. And just feel your breath as it brings in the good, and you release that which no longer serves you. Space of relaxation. Today we're going to do something of a call and response. We seek the experience of God. And the words that I will be using, some of them are from the language of Kiswahili. We seek the experience of God. Kutafuta means that we have entered the sacred circle and we seek the experience of God. And if you will respond after me, we open ourselves to receive the power of God. we open ourselves to receive the power of God. And we breathe in and breathe out. Kutamungu means that we can come upon God right here where we are. And your response, if we seek, we will find.
If we seek, we will find.
And breathe in and relax it out. Kutamungu means that we can come upon God right here where we are. When we are open, our inner divinity can be touched by the cosmic power of God, and Kubasana will come like a mystical explosion. And your response, the overwhelming power of God enters into us. The overwhelming power of God enters into us. The creative intelligence of God directs us. The creative intelligence of God directs us. We become one with God and with God's people everywhere. We become one with God and God's people everywhere. When our inner divinity comes into contact with the higher power out of which it was created, we are born anew in the fullness of life. And your response, the sacred triangles, and that would be spirit, mind, body, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. The mystical sacraments and the disciplines of a transforming community open us to receive the power of God. And we breathe in and we breathe out. Feeling the love of community, the transforming power of a spiritual community. In our surrender to God, Kujitoa, we have new strength for our earthly battles. And your response is, we share a sacred trust with those who have gone before us and with those who will come after. We are in total submission to the will of God. Kujitoa. Now this is your response. Kutaputa. Kutamungu. Kugasana. Kujitoa. Kutaputa. Kutamungu. Kugasana. Kujitoa. Kutaputa. Kutamungu. Kugasana. Kujitoa. We seek the experience of God. Namaste.
hands together for LaDonna one more time. Musician, Rick, meditator, Sister Karima, and prayer chaplain. If you will take a few moments to just settle, let's connect together in the same space now that the waters have been troubled. In this time together, just rest. Rest, rest, rest. You know, we do so much running during the week, but resting, not sleeping, is actually good for us. Although sleeping is good too, but just a moment to rest. Let the mind rest. Allow your mind to rest in your body as your body is resting in your seat. Just take a few minutes to rest. To allow your brain to create a set point so that you remember the experience and the feeling of calm. Because remembering this feeling lets you know that this is the foundation of all creation. So on Monday, if you get upset, you can come back to this moment. Tuesday, if you get anxious, you can come back to this moment. You can remember what it feels like to be supported, to be among friends and family. So that when the world tells you you're not okay and everything is going to you know what, you can remember that there's a part of you, there's a knowingness that's comfortable, that's calm. And from that space and place, you can get through anything. Anything that shows up contrary to that is just noise. Charles Fillmore says it's a spent force of a dying vibration, and it's on its way out. Peace is truth. Calm is truth. Anxiousness is facts, factual, but this is eternity. This is truth. This is your real self. This is your natural self. And all else in your life, come what may, comes back to this moment of peace, relaxation, contentment, joy, and infinite possibility. And when you're ready, take a deep breath into the nose, release the divine sound of ah. Let it all go, knowing that the greater you has it all under control. Declare with me, and so it is. If you will, let's send a special blessing to those that are watching online. Say this with me: we love you, we bless you, we truly appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you. Our ministry is supported by partners like you. Remember to make your gift by logging on to unitybham.org and click on giving. And if you do have a prayer request, our prayer chaplains are standing by. So wherever you see this message, post a comment and we will hold your request in prayer. And for those of you that are in the house, if you do have a prayer request, we do have Mother Evelyn and Sister Karima, and I believe Mother Sharon is probably online. Put your hands together for our prayer chaplains. For those of you that are first-time visitors, we extend our deepest greetings to you, and we welcome you to Unity of Birmingham. On this month, in honor of African American History Month, my inspirations were drawn from poetry and from music and from writing. And so each week, I want to float a particular author or writer or creator out there to you to invite you to explore all the literature in the world. You know, there's so much inspiration out here. There's so much inspiration in the world. And when we look at spirituality, sometimes we tend to associate spirituality with just, prayer, just meditation, a sacred text. But when we turn to art, Emily Dickinson said that nature is that of which we have no art to say. Literature, poetry, the world, there's so much inspiration everywhere. And so my inspiration on this week was Stevie Wonder. And Stevie Wonder's albums really spoke to me and tied me into spirit in a way this week that I wasn't accustomed to, because I've listened to music before in preparation for messages, and I'm sure you all have been inspired by music before. And I heard a particular album of Stevie Wonder's that I heard in the past and I heard remastered by Music Soul Child, but this one really blew me away because I really tuned into the melodies, and before I knew it, 4 or 5 hours were gone and there goes my Saturday. So I was gone, me and Stevie Wonder. But the title of the theme for this month is A World That Works for All. Say this with me: a world that works for all. And so Stevie Wonder spoke to me on this week, not in person, but his album. And the 1973 album, Visions, was written and composed by Stevie. And when you listen to the album, specifically the song Inner Vision, all of the instrumentality of that particular album and that the song Inner Visions were all composed by him. So he did the composition, he did the writing, he did the strings and the piano part and all of those things. But it's powerful because the song was written on the backdrop of coming out of the Vietnam War and the Arab-Israeli crises and so many things that were going on in the 70s. And the struggle for African Americans in America. But the song Inner Visions is powerful, and I'm going to share with you just a little piece of it. I'm not going to sing, but I want you to listen to the words. That first line says, people hand in hand, have I lived to see the milk and honey land, where hate's a dream and love forever stands? Or is this a vision in my mind? That line is powerful. And what it does is it calls us deeper into ourselves. It makes us question where we stand. It makes us question our belief systems. And it makes us question our ability to create space in a world that works for all. Say this with me, a world that works for all. Now, I do want you to give yourself credit because for many of us, this is our first planet. Okay, this is the first planet we've had a chance to be on that we can remember. So in the process of world creating, it takes time. And we have to grow up. You know, the spiritual journey is really about two things. And I heard this quote, so I can't take credit for it. It's about waking up and then integrating all of the experiences that we have developed and received after waking up. And it takes a lot of work. Jesus said, take my yoke upon you, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Well, it's easy to take the yoke upon you of spiritual practice. Yes, I'm a spiritual being. I'm spiritual but not religious. You know, I meditate. But the actual living out of it is a whole lot of work. When's the last time you offended somebody? I probably offended somebody 5 minutes ago on accident. So it's a lot of work of integrating heaven and earth and walking this thing out. But you know, if you give yourself grace, say this with me, I give grace to myself and to other people. You can actually get through it in one piece without all of the cataclysmic damage that happens when we bump against each other. And there's a reason why we call our belief systems BS, because in many cases they are. Our belief systems are created in order to make sure that we walk through the world safely. But sometimes those belief systems that we create cause us to do harm to other people. And so our spiritual practices challenge our belief systems. You know, they help us to see our growing edge. And it's not about damning us or making us feel bad. It's about helping us to grow up, not just in humanhood, but in Godhood. Stevie Wonder goes on to say in the chorus part of that same song, Inner Visions, I'm not one who make believes. I know the leaves are green and they only turn to brown when autumn comes around. But I know just what I say, today is not yesterday and all things have an ending. But what I'd like to know is, does there exist a place so beautiful? Or do we have to find our wings and fly away? Or is it just a vision in my mind? And so sometimes we do have to turn within to our minds because the world out there is just so icky. But again, this is our first time and this is our first planet for many of us. You know, some of us is like, oh, I've been here before. And that's all right. You've been here before and the world still looks like this? Ooh, you might need to come back again. You've been here before, you should get it right, you know. But turning within, you know, it gives you the strength and the capacity to continue to live even when the stuff out there tells you that you're doing it wrong or it's not good enough or you need to do more. Who spelled the rah of 2024? You got to get it, you got to do it, you got to do more. And all that rah is good, but it has to be balanced with a level of rest and a level of care because we do have a lot of work to do, especially if we're talking about building a world that works for everybody. So I'm okay as long as I build my belief system enough to where it takes care of me, but I'm also responsible for you. Say this with me. I am my brother and sister's keeper. So I've got to expand my belief system to make sure that it creates enough space for me to deal with you. Because it's not just about me. Once I wake up spiritually, I have to be considerate of how I treat you. I have to be considerate of how I offend you. And so before assuming, I ask. When I see you doing the best you can, I give you credit. When you make a mistake, I give you grace. You know, when you look at me funny, I still show you love because maybe you got gas and you're not mad at me. You know, it might not be my fault. Say this with me. Everything is not my fault. You know, sometimes when people yawn, it's not because you're boring, it's because they're tired. And when you realize that, you can relax because the world that you build, although you start off building it just for you, it's not just about you. Say this again. We're building a world that works for all. So we have to create enough space for it. And it takes time. And when you turn within, Emily Cady is a wonderful writer and teacher. If you haven't had a chance to read Herriott Emily Cady, you should definitely check out her work, Lessons in Truth, especially for those of you that might be new to Unity teachings. But in her particular work, when she talks about the secret place of the Most High, I'm reminded of the story of David. And David says this quote, and I want you to say this with me. They that dwell in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. So when the world out there gets to be weird and you feel like you're building and building, or you're building all by yourself, or your works are in vain, you do turn within, and inside there's protection. Now you don't stay there. You turn within in order to get inspired. You turn within in order to get instruction. You turn within in order to get guidance and to get empowered to make sure that you feel up to the task. You know, that's how burnout happens. We don't recharge our batteries enough. So Emily Cady invites us to turn within, to turn inside. And when you turn inside, this is what you also find out, that the world that you're seeking to build out there, the template for it is in here. So if you're not turning inside enough, you can feel that disconnect. Who's been away from their prayer mat, or been away from their spiritual study, or been away from church too long before? You know that odd feeling like something ain't right? I need to be in church every Sunday. You may not need to be in church every Sunday, but if I miss a Sunday, I feel off. Or if you don't meditate a lot, but I meditate a lot and I don't do what I need to do, it just feels off. So that turning within, turning into that sacred place, there's peace there, there's joy there, but it's also how we recharge our batteries. And when we don't do that enough and we don't get recharged, then we go outside and we burn out. We try to do it on our own. You know, say this affirmation with me. Not by might, not by power, but by spirit. Yeah, it takes God. And the God that I'm talking about is the God of your heart. I'm talking about the God that reminds you that you are not just a droplet, but you are the power of the ocean condensed in a drop. Say this with me. I and spirit are one. This is what I'm talking about, of the same substance. Even though we're divided into spirit, soul, and body, when you turn within to this inner space that's both in us, with us, as us, that looks through our eyes and see the world, you get strength, you get recharged, and you also get that blueprint again for what's out there. So while you are moving outward and you're doing the compassion work and trying to hold space for people and be loving and create a world that works for all, regardless of people's differences, regardless of skin color and other barriers that tends to separate us, you get recharged because you're not doing it by yourself. You're doing it with God. Now say this unity affirmation with me. We co-create our experience of the world through our thoughts. So again, it's inside. It's inside. The blueprint is right in here. Charles Fillmore said that prayer is the highest form of mental action. So every time we turn within and get recharged, it's the highest form of thinking. So we build that mental world, or we get the mental blueprint as Spirit reveals it to us inside, and then we look out there, and then we execute it. So that even if the world says, not good enough, you should march more. Not good enough, you should join this protest. Not good enough, you should join this group. You ever felt like you don't do enough? You turn within and you find out what's yours to do. Here's something I've learned about spiritual practice, especially when we're talking about world building. If you do not discover what it is yours to do, the world out there will tell you what you should be doing and make you feel bad for not doing it. Howard Thurman, who I'm going to talk about in a couple of weeks, has a wonderful quote, and I think I've said it here a few times. Until you've tuned in to the sound of the genuine within you, you will forever dance on the ends of strings that someone else pulls. And the world pulls strings, sometimes not on purpose, not to hurt you, but there's so many things that are going on out there. The real question is, in the process of building a world that works for all, what part do I play? You ask yourself a higher question. That part could be in medical, it could be in nursing, it could be in teaching, it could be in music, because through the gifts that you share, real estate, construction, wherever you find yourself, you are bringing God into these spaces that seem to have boundaries that separate people from each other, but you are inviting the presence of God in that says that when humanity draws a box around people, God redraws the entire map and says, come all who desire. Unless you humble yourself as a small child, you can't even enter into this consciousness. So you can't have barriers to entry. So you ask an empowering question because in the process of building a world that works for all, the type of question you ask depends on the answer you receive. Why is she acting like that? Because she wants to. You ask an empowering question, who hurt her and made her like that? Then spirit reveals to you, and then grace kicks in because you realize she was once a child and someone disappointed her, and that's why she behaves like that. Why does he look at me like that? Because he wants to. You see the difference? When you ask that low vibration question, you get that low vibration answer. But in the process of building a world that works for all and us finding our place in it, we got to ask higher questions. Because these higher questions tell us who we are and our role to play, but they also let us know where everyone else is, and we can do this. We can give each other grace. Say this again. I give myself grace, and I extend it to you too. Thich Nhat Hanh, I quote this all the time, says, hold yourself and the world and your anger and your disappointments and your shames and your not enoughness. Hold it like a newborn baby. You know, with a newborn baby, if you hold it too tight, you'll squeeze it and it'll holler. So you got to hold it just right to provide a level of comfort and safety to remind it that I'm not going to drop you. That's why we are each other's keeper. We can't drop each other in the process of world building. We extend grace and kindness and compassion to each other to realize that we all have different histories, but because we're here right now, we are all building a brand new shared narrative. And say this with me, it takes work to do so. I want to tell you some history, biblically speaking. The scriptural story that I was inspired to take a look at on this week in preparation for this message was the story in the book of Genesis. Now, who thinks Genesis was written by a man named Moses? Right? Scholars say that the book of Genesis was more likely composed by 4 different authors, ranging anywhere from the 9th century, or 10th century, all the way down to the 5th century. The first author they associate with J, the second one they associate with E, the third one they associate with D, and the fourth one they associate with P. J is the Yahweh's author, which is why when you turn to the book of Genesis, you see the God or deity named Yahweh. But the German translators didn't have that letter, so they used J. And then the E, you can guess, the name of God is Elohim in Genesis, so the Elohim contributors added that part. And then you have the D's, who are the Deuteronomists. Here's the boring stuff. The Deuteronomists, where all the legal stuff comes in through the book of Deuteronomy, which is a part of that Pentateuch, the 5 books of Moses. And then you have the P, which are the priestly class. They did all the redacting stuff that they wanted in and didn't want in. And they were sent out during the time of Ezra and Nehemiah after their world were destroyed because the Babylonians destroyed the entire temple. Now just imagine walking off and going home and seeing everything that you built over the last 20 years being destroyed by a flood or being destroyed by someone else, or going to your job and a project you have been working on for months just disappears because someone accidentally deleted it. It is horrible. But say this with me, you got to give grace. You got to give grace to yourself and to other people. And so 4 or 5 different contributors contributed to the book of Genesis, which is why some of the chapters seem like they're contradicting each other. But the story that I want to point your attention to mostly after all the history stuff is the famous story that we know in the Garden of Eden. Now, this is the Garden of Paradise, and some of us have heard this story 1,000 times, but it's relevant to a world that works for all because there is a part of us that is trying to make this world here a paradise. When we don't realize that it already is, our job is to move the barrier so that we can see it. Emerson says that we are led to believe a lie when we look with and not through the eye of that which was born in a night, to perish in a night, while the soul sleeps in beams of light. So when we just focus on this out here, right, we don't see that it's already a paradise. We just have to see the world with the eyes of God. And so in the process of their world building, the characters in that garden story, they're in the garden. They see all of these trees. Everybody knows the story. And then they make a decision and they make a choice and then they get kicked out. Now, the garden story, if you read it incorrectly, it seems like there was a mistake made. But say this with me, choices. That's what we all are. This whole life, all of this stuff, world building, it's all about the choices that we make. And believe it or not, good, bad, or indifferent, left, right, up, down, it's all about perspective. And at the end of your days, you'll discover that because you decided to do something and your life was worth living and life is for the living, even if you made a different choice, the conclusion would have probably ended up being the same anyway. You know, when you sit around elders have wonderful perspectives. They'll tell you things like, I'm the good, the bad, and the ugly. But all of those things work together for your good. So harking on the past and wishing you had made other choices at some point in your life, you really start to see your life through the eyes of God and see that you did the best you could. Yeah, you could have went left and things would have been different, but at the end of the day, you did what you did and you got the lessons you got. You did the best that you know how. And in the story, it seems like the characters made a mistake. To ground this story in Unity teachings, there are 4 characters. You know, the parent character is the male and the female. And then there is the God character and the serpent. Fillmorian teachers, if you're into Fillmorian teachings, say that in the garden is intuition, feeling, thought, and then inspiration. Inspiration is the presence of God. Feeling is Eve. Thought is the male. And then sensation, is the other one. That's the serpent. And these 4 things are in us. They're with us. They're as us. But when we tune into the sound of the genuine, when we tune into the presence of God, all of these other things that help us to make decisions in life while we're building a world that works for all, they all get in alignment so that the decisions that we make are in divine order and not necessarily outside of divine order. To clean that up a bit, it doesn't take us 20 years to finally get it right. We listen to God the first time. And of course, we do the best we can with what we have. But if you do want to get it more right than not, say this with me, listen to God the first time. But if you didn't, don't beat yourself up. It's okay. I got a lifeline for you in this message. It's okay. We're giving everybody grace. I'm giving myself grace too because I've made plenty of mistakes. Probably made one on the way here. But the garden story, just to finish that up. So they make a decision and they leave the garden. Now, everybody thinks they were punished. They left this beautiful paradise, this beautiful world that was working for them, but it wasn't a world that was big enough for everybody else to come into the picture. So they get kicked out, and now they've inherited thorns and thistles. But this is the mystical part. When they made the decision and they looked around and saw all the trees in the garden, say this with me, trees. All the trees in the garden were good for food, just like all the truths in the world are good for food. So you pick one. Pick the one that resonates with you. And if there are consequences associated with that truth, just get the lessons from it because there's probably some good in there too. So they get kicked out. But it seems like it's a bad thing because they went from paradise to thorns and thistles. It's actually a good thing. See, comfort and security and infinite prosperity started at the mother's breast. It started when we were children. So the Garden of Eden story, believe it or not, even though they are adults, they're actually children. God actually did them a favor. Through them making a choice and making a decision and asking an empowering question, they were given the opportunity to be like God for real. God created from nothing, so they had to do the same thing. They wanted to create from paradise. God said, no, if you really want to be like God, I'm going to give you the same thing that I had. Thorns, thistles, barrenness. And look at us several 100,000 years later. Look at how beautiful the world is. We got hospitals, we got technology, we got microphones, we got cell phones, we got Netflix. So humanity hasn't done that bad of a job. So you give yourself a break. So to come back to Stevie Wonder, people hand in hand, have I lived to see the milk and honey land? I'm going to answer that question. He wrote that in 1973, and he's still alive today. We are seeing the effects of the milk and honey land. The work that we have done is paying off. My invitation to you this week and this month is to give yourself grace. Ask an empowering question. Ask your part and your place in it. And know that your efforts are not in vain, that you are doing enough, that you are enough. And the presence of God that is in you, with you, will guide you even further in your journey. Thank you for listening. Peace and blessings. Awesome. For those of you that do give online, remember to log on to unitybham.org and click on giving. For those that do give in person, our ushers are on their way forward, and LaDonna's going to give us a special selection. Take it away, LaDonna. Yourself. Let's bless our offering. Ah, sis, where you going? Let's bless our offering. Put your hands in the direction of the offering. Say this with me. We bless this up. Where'd the offering go? Oh, Lord, shall we put it up? Point to the back of the room. We bless this offering. Only to be used for the building of this ministry. We bless the givers. We declare it will return back to them. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And so it is. Put your hands together one more time. Let there be peace.
light of God surrounds us.
I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
The presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Wherever we are, God is.
Wherever I am, God is,
And all is well. Thank you, Linda.